a chipped bourbon glass, a slender wrist with faded ink, 1322 R691. The rowdy laughter of young soldiers echoed through the broken lantern, where troops from Fort Drum drowned their training week in senseless jokes. At the bar's end, a woman didn't laugh. The golden light fell on her tattoo, cold, silent, like an unhealed scar. Just an odd tattoo? Or something that made 3 grizzled ex-SEALs fall silent, their drinks frozen midair? They thought so too, until 3 minutes later. Don't leave yet. The best part of the story is still to come. If these first moments have already made you pause, then hit like and subscribe. It helps us keep bringing you real stories, ones that touch the deepest parts of every human soul. A damp night by Lake Champlain, Vermont. Rain falls thin, like a veil of memories draped over everything out there. Inside the Broken Lantern Tavern, the air is the opposite. Warm golden light, thick laughter, and the scent of bourbon mingling with cigarette smoke, as if entwined for decades. In the noisy room, a group of young soldiers, fresh from 6 weeks of training at Fort Drum, raise their glasses in celebration. Sunburned faces, muscled arms, and fresh tattoos, they laugh loudly, as if war were just a shooting game on a screen. A blonde soldier, an eagle tattooed on his shoulder, leans back. His eyes scan the bar, then stop at the corner of the counter. The woman sits there, alone, still. She doesn't look at anyone, doesn't rush. Her hand gently swirls her bourbon, her fingers quiet, as if listening to a song only she knows. On her left wrist, a faded tattoo rests in the flickering light. 1322 R691. The young soldier chuckles, his voice deliberately loud. Hey, is that your Wi-Fi password? Laughter erupts like thunder. Another soldier leans in, laughing along. Or maybe it's your military payroll code. They don't mean to be cruel, but their youth, their ignorance, cuts like a blade. And in that room, no one notices the insult just thrown, except 3 people. 3 veterans sit in the corner. They don't laugh. One is a retired master sergeant from SEAL Team 2. The other 2 served in Somalia and Fallujah. Their eyes haven't smiled in years. When the joke rings out, they stop drinking. No one needs to say a word. The oldest sets his glass down, looking toward Madeline's wrist. He squints. Eyes that once peered through a scope in smoke and gunfire now study that tattoo, like it's a relic from a battlefield erased from the map. 1322 R6, he mutters, just loud enough for his 2 friends to hear. I've seen it before, on the dog tags of Raven 6's commander. His words fall into the air like a cold gust. The other 2 turn, their eyes meeting in full confirmation. No questions, no doubts, just a heavy acknowledgement. And Madeline, she doesn't blink. She doesn't react to the mockery, doesn't need anyone to defend her. Her hand subtly pulls back, covering the tattoo as if it's still alive. Not out of shame, but because she knows what's being stirred in this room. The blonde soldier stops laughing. The way those 3 men stare at a string of characters. It sends a chill down his spine. Something is happening that he doesn't understand. The whole group of soldiers falls silent, as if instinct warns them a line has just been crossed. Outside, rain still falls steadily on the window panes. Inside the tavern, time seems to slow. The scattered sounds no longer clamor, and the 3 SEALs, survivors of countless sieges, who traded their youth for numbers written in blood, have realized that tattoo is no joke. It is a cipher. It is an oath. It is a promise that preserved many lives and cost a piece of her very soul. Madeline remains seated, silent, as if she never heard the laughter. But in truth, she heard it all, and chose not to let it cut her. Only when the eyes of those who fought see her does she feel truly seen. None of the three veterans stand. They don't need to. Their gaze alone, steady, unblinking, is a wall thick enough to block all recklessness. And that, more than any words, hushes the room. Seconds later, one of the young soldiers lowers his head, setting his beer on the table. No one told him to do it. But some lessons are only learned by witnessing the silence of those who have truly survived war. She doesn't respond. She doesn't need to. The bourbon glass touches the wooden surface lightly, leaving a small ring of water spreading like an unhealed wound. Her gesture is slow, undramatic, yet carries the quiet weight of something no one in that room has ever known, or had the patience to understand. Madeline pulls up her sleeve. There's no rush. She doesn't look around, doesn't show any need to prove herself, but as the thick fabric slides past her wrist, the tattoo emerges under the dim light, clear, composed, like a warning in a language long forgotten. 13 to 22, R6, 91. Right beside it, a broken cross, its ink faded, but its outline still sharp, like shrapnel lodged deep in flesh. That symbol, it's not for the public. No one bears it without surviving Operation Iron Lantern. No one etches it into their skin without breathing through the gunfire in Kandahar, 1991. And anyone who stood in that circle, small, secret, nameless in official reports, knows instantly. They don't need to ask. They only need to see. In the tavern, the music suddenly feels alien. No one speaks, but the air seems to have been sucked dry for a fleeting moment. A sharp exhale sounds, out of place, but enough to pull reality back. The oldest of the 3 SEAL veterans sets his glass down. His eyes don't blink. The way he looks at Madeline isn't like someone seeing a person. It's like gazing into a lost era. He tilts his head, whispering, but each word slips past a forbidden threshold. My God, it's her. No one responds. His 2 old friends follow his gaze, their eyes darken, not with anger, but with memory. The man continues, his voice sinking low, like wind whistling through a mountain pass. The one who led the platoon out of the mine trap at Zarkashan Pass. I thought she was gone. None of the 3 take their eyes off her, but they don't approach, don't call her name. They know something must remain at a distance. Respect, sometimes, comes not from drawing closer, but from holding the silence, letting memory breathe. A flash of lightning flares outside the window. A streak of blue-white light hits the glass, casting a faint reflection on the worn wooden floor. The rain still falls steadily, no heavier, no lighter. But now, each drop seems to tap the tavern's roof with solemnity. And Madeline, she sits there, unmoving, but far from frozen. She doesn't need to look back to know her past has been recognized. She feels the shift in the room. She senses that the silence is no longer indifference. It has become something closer to acknowledgement. Her posture is solid, like a cliff, worn by time, but never shattered. She doesn't brace herself as if defending, nor does she try to hide the tattoo as if ashamed. She simply lets it show, a testament, a wordless story, written in blood, sand, and ragged breaths from a desert 3 decades ago. In her mind, no words echo, no memories stand clear, only a quiet sensation rises from her chest. Heavy, but unregretful. She once thought she'd carry that tattoo as a secret, until it faded beneath her skin. But tonight, the unexpected presence of those 3 former seals feels like a final confirmation. What happened doesn't need retelling. It only needs to be seen. Across the room, the young soldiers have fallen silent. No one laughs anymore. Unease spreads through their glances. They don't understand what's happening. They only sense something profoundly real standing among them, something they lack the words to break. And in the heart of that room, it's not the lamplight, not the music, not the rain, but the silence of a woman who survived, and the gaze of 3 men who know what it means to sacrifice everything, that forms the true center. The wooden chair creaks softly, a sound seemingly harmless, but in that moment, it rings like a summons from an old battlefield. The 3 men stand. No shouts, no sudden jerks, just the decisiveness forged through thousands of life or death choices. They say nothing. They don't need to. Their silence itself takes the shape of a command. They stride across the room, filled with lamplight and the remnants of laughter, as if walking on scorching sand under a Middle Eastern noon, each step carrying the weight of things unspoken. They approach her, not rushed, but unstoppable. The young soldiers fall utterly silent. Their laughter dies abruptly, like a siren cut off after a crash. A few glance at each other, vaguely sensing something has shifted. No one knows exactly what's happening, but clearly, the fun is over. One young soldier, the one who mocked her tattoo moments ago, leans forward slightly, as if to interject with a half-joking, half-apologetic remark. But when the scarred veteran from the Mogadishu campaign meets his eyes, cold, direct, without a flicker, every word in the boy's throat shatters like glass under a boot heel. No one raises their voice. There's no scene of intimidation, no display of bravado, but that room, in that moment, transforms. The air grows heavy as stone, thick with something the young soldiers lack words to name. It is recognition. It is a mental step back. It is the feeling of having unwittingly trodden on sacred memory. The man leading the group, shoulders still square, chin slightly raised, gaze unwavering, stops before Madeline's table. His voice, low and measured, carries no force but enough authority to command the room's attention. "Do you need us to sit with you?" Just one sentence, no more, no less. But it's as if a door, long untouched, has been opened. Madeline looks up, not startled, not surprised, just a quiet moment passing through eyes that have seen too much and no longer wish to hold anything more. Those eyes, deep and dark, like a lake forgotten by the sun, rest on where they stand, not probing, not defensive. She nods, lightly, but clearly, and no words are needed to affirm the presence of these 3 men is right. No one in the tavern dares breathe heavily. Her consent, though wordless, echoes louder than any command ever shouted on a training field. For that very simplicity holds the power to shatter every layer of arrogance. The flimsy disguises of youth untouched by the smell of gunpowder and silence. The 3 men pull out chairs and sit. Unhurried, they settle as if pledging loyalty before a witness. None stare at her. None reach out. but the air around their table is entirely severed from the rest of the tavern, like a pocket of absolute silence in a desert once stained with blood. And Madeline, she still doesn't speak. She doesn't need to. No need to recount. No need to justify. She knows those who just joined her understand, deeply, through their eyes, through the symbol, through the memories quietly carved into every fiber of their being. They are the only ones in the tavern who don't need to ask what that tattoo means, for they, too, carry codes the outside world could never decipher. She takes a faint breath, not from emotion, but because, at last, the weight pressing on her chest for years is now shared. No need to retell the battle. No need to repeat the names of those who fell. Just sitting here, in this sudden stillness, is enough. This is not a reunion, nor is it liberation. It's something simpler. A silent nod between those who have walked through death and chosen to live on in silence. Dear audience, take a moment to relax or grab a glass of water, then keep listening to the story. The twists are still to come. And please let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. It's always exciting to see who's joining us from around the world. Drop a comment number 1 if you're loving the story, so we can keep bringing you more like it. The story isn't long. It doesn't need to be. Just a few sentences, light as a breath, but enough to tear through the carefree veil on the young soldiers' faces. 13 to 22. An old code for a covert strike team, never mentioned in memorial ceremonies, never carved on official gravestones. But those numbers have been whispered across generations, like a code name only insiders dare speak. R6, Raven 6, a silent unit operating in unmapped zones, where every step was a gamble with death. They were shadows within shadows, the line between duty and truths never meant to surface. And 91, not just a year, but a night. That night, in the heart of Kandahar, amid choking dust and the roar of artillery, a child was trapped in a munitions bunker. Not part of the mission. No strategic value. Just a trembling life caught between two worlds. The commander of Raven 6, she, made a choice. She set the withdrawal order aside, risking her entire team to go back, not out of emotion, not for heroism, but because, in that moment, she believed the truest thing was to save that child, knowing no war report would ever record it. No one dares ask more. No one needs to tell the rest. For the woman sitting before them, silent, composed, with eyes deep as an abyss, is living proof of that choice. And her quiet existence makes the story achingly real. Without her there, it would remain mere legend, mere rumor. Madeline doesn't lift her head, but her breathing slows. Not from pride, not from emotion, but because this sudden acknowledgement, brief as it is, touches the place where she buried it all. She never told that story, not once. She knew no one wanted to hear it, and if they did, no one would have the patience to grasp each decision, each death, each hesitated second that led to loss. Some pains can't be justified with reason. They can only be felt in absolute silence. That's why she tattooed those numbers on her wrist instead of speaking them. She doesn't need anyone to remember her name. She just needs them there, close to her pulse, close to her breath. A reminder that, on that unwitnessed night, she chose. Silence engulfs the room. No more scraping chairs. No clinking spoons against glasses. No aimless background music. Only one young soldier sits there, head bowed, hands gripping his beer like an anchor. His gaze fixes on the tabletop, where scratches intertwine like old dried blood trails. And then, with a voice nearly breaking, he whispers, "We didn't know. I'm sorry." 4 words. But perhaps for the first time in that young soldier's life, he learns a lesson no manual could teach. Respect doesn't come from rank, but from something he hasn't lived through. Silent sacrifice, needing no proof. Those words don't require a response, and Madeline doesn't speak. She just looks at him, not with harshness, nor with forgiveness, but with the gaze of someone who understands that every generation must have its moment of looking back and feeling small before things that happened long ago. And then, as if by unspoken agreement, everyone falls silent. No applause erupts, no ceremony of honor follows. But in the hearts of those young soldiers, something has shifted forever. The rain outside pours heavily, like a curtain of the past drawn shut. Its roar crashes against the old tin roof, seeping through weathered wooden cracks, echoing onto the cold stone floor. But inside the tavern, time seems to halt. No one stirs, no sound dares break the silence, taut like a guitar string on the verge of snapping. No one prompts it, but almost simultaneously, beer glasses are gently set down on the tables. A unified sound, faint, nearly inaudible, but in that moment, it carries the weight of acknowledgement. An apology rises, soft, tentative. From a corner table, a trembling voice, like a sob held back. No one taught them how to say it. No training manual has a chapter on bowing before a tattoo. But they know. Instinctively, they understand that what just happened transcends mere misunderstanding. It is a shortfall, a lack of vision, a lack of listening, a lack of respect for a wound that never bleeds, but aches through every rainy season. Madeline sits still. She doesn't react quickly. No gesture. No nod. But on her face, amid faint wrinkles and the golden light spilling from the overhead bulb, a faint smile appears, so subtle it could be missed by the careless. But for those who witness the entire moment, it rings like a small bell in the night. Not forgiveness. She doesn't need to forgive, and they aren't seeking it. But a deeply human moment, when someone once mocked is finally seen for who they truly are. She understands. Not everyone knows what lies behind a code. Not everyone grasps the true weight of silence. But today, they know. They've seen. Though late, that recognition is worth more than any empty praise that comes too soon. The group of young soldiers slowly rises. No one commands it. No signal is given, but the entire group, as if moved by a reflex deep in their veins, bows low together. Their shoulders tremble slightly, not from cold, but from something just broken open in their hearts. One of them, older by a bit, with a weathered face and eyes dry as battlefield sand, pulls from an old backpack a faded green cloth. No one knows why he carries it. Perhaps once an armband. Perhaps once a marker for a unit. He steps toward Madeline, slow, steady, not hesitant, but filled with reverence. No probing glances. No divide remains between young soldier and veteran. Only one human, recognizing another who has crossed the line between life and death. He leans forward, gently draping the cloth over her shoulders. No words are spoken, but the act carries immense weight, like a ritual, spontaneous yet holier than anything ever witnessed in this place. Madeline doesn't turn, but her eyes glisten faintly. Not a single tear falls. Only a shimmer in the dim lamplight, the sole sign her heart is touching something profound. She raises her hand, lightly holding the cloth's edge, not gripping tightly, not pulling it close, just a gentle touch, like a thank you unspoken. And then, the air in the room seems to shift, no longer tense, no longer heavy with guilt, but a new space, still, mature, filled with quiet empathy among those no longer strangers. Outside, the rain still falls, but now it sounds like a soft lullaby for a night when someone is finally seen, not for their wounds, not for their deeds, but simply because they were there and chose what was right in a moment no one demanded. And inside the tavern, the young soldiers know they will never look at a tattoo the same way again. Madeline leaves the tavern as the rain dwindles to sparse drops, like the final breaths of an exhausted storm. No one escorts her to the door. No one offers a farewell. But that's unnecessary. For each step she takes on the wet pavement quiets everything around her, like the whisper of a presence the entire room has just realized is precious. Her boots strike the mottled stone, each step a slow beat of time, as if she's walking through the torn pages of classified files, memories shoved into the shadows of war. No bright lights bid her goodbye. Only the glow of street lamps lingers on her faded jacket and dew-speckled hair. Behind her, the young soldiers remain rooted in place. They don't know what to do with the emotions stirring within. They only stand silent, watching, as if something greater than them has just passed through their lives, quietly, proudly, leaving nothing but the sense that they've learned something vital. The next day, in the Fort Drum courtyard, amid roll calls, marching boots, and routine salutes, whispers spread, not loud, not boisterous, but clear, about a woman with a strange tattoo, about a silent night in a lakeside tavern, about the look in 3 former SEALs' eyes as they stood, and how they said nothing yet made the whole room hold its breath. No one mentions her name. No one needs to. They simply say, she was Raven 6. And that alone, in their world, is enough to become a tale passed through later training cycles, spreading like an anthem without words. She left no address, didn't ask to be heard, didn't need gratitude. But everyone understands. Some symbols don't need to be displayed to be honored. Some battles, unrecorded, still leave their mark. And some medals, not encased in glass, shine brightest in the hearts of those who truly understand. Do you remember the last time you saw someone like that? Someone who quietly passes you, on a subway, in a supermarket, or in a hospital corridor. They might reveal just a patch of skin with a faint scar, a strange tattoo, or simply an unmistakable gaze, warm yet sorrowful, as if they've carried the world on their shoulders. Have you ever looked closely? We live too fast. We glance, we half listen, and sometimes miss stories that, with just one paused second, we'd realize are grander than any film could portray. Pause for a moment. Look again at the smallest details around you. A scratch on a wooden table, an old photo taped to an office fridge, or someone who habitually touches their left wrist before stepping out a door. You'll see, true medals aren't always made of metal. They live in every memory, every sacrifice, every choice to stay silent rather than claim glory. Thank you for taking the time to walk this journey with us. If this story left you silent for a moment, if it made your heart ache even slightly, don't keep that to yourself. Share this video with a friend, a family member, an old comrade you think would understand. Subscribe to the channel so stories like this can keep being told. And don't forget to comment below, letting us know where you're watching this and what time it is. It's truly special to know someone from across America, or even a far-off land, is listening alongside us. Because sometimes the greatest wonder doesn't come from dazzling light, but from a faded tattoo that we might have carelessly overlooked.